Alright, so in this video, I'm going to discuss Nazjatar, the capital city of the Naga, and what we can expect from it in patch 8.2. Blizzard announced, as would be expected, that we are going to visit it during patch 8.2. Indeed, it's going to be a whole new zone. I want to discuss what the established lore has been as of, well, at least up to yesterday, and what we can now say might be a little bit different about it. World of Warcraft, of course, in the last few years has been no stranger to retconning certain aspects of previous lore. So in terms of what Nazjatar is and where it arose, so as we know, we saw in the Warbringer strip, if people didn't know this before, Queen Azshara ruled over elves based very close to the Well of Eternity, in fact pretty much next to the Well of Eternity, in her capital city Zin-Azshari, which was named after her, and then summoned forces which they couldn't control. Effectively, they were trying to summon in Sargeras, who promised that he would change Azeroth into a paradise for them. Now, as a result of these forces they unleashed, there was the Great Sundering. So the Well of Eternity and all her kingdom basically down to the ocean steppes. And now we have the Maelstrom in that place. So on the site of Zin-Azshari, she ordered her Naga, which was what they'd now become. As we saw, she did a deal with N'Zoth, who changed their form so that they could cope in the ocean depths in return for doing his bidding. Although, again, as we saw from the Warbringer series, Azshara was not going to be simply a puppet slave. She insisted that she would rule, but at the same time, N'Zoth was going to get what he wanted, so he was okay with that. So she put them to work rebuilding the kingdom and building a new capital, which was Nazjatar. Now, when we were sort of thinking, are we going to be going to Nazjatar, the thoughts initially and inevitably went to, so we're going to get another underwater zone, like Vashj'ir, which is behind me. They've basically explained that, well, they didn't really say, but they showed us what it's going to look like and explained a little bit about we're going to find a crack and we're going to explore it and we're going to total our ships, but we're going to find these places with loads of waterfalls and things like that. And we see something like this. This is Nazjatar. So as you can see, from our point of view, it's dry land. It's not an underwater zone. They're not going with the underwater zone, but a little bit more about that in a bit as well. Now, I have mixed feelings on this. On the one hand, I'm delighted. I did not enjoy Vashj'ir. I do not enjoy the concept of underwater zones. However, Nazjatar is an underwater city. It is. You know, they didn't create a bubble around it. It wouldn't even make sense to do so because N'Zoth changed them into a form where they could survive under the water. Sure, they can also survive on land as well, but they survive and thrive underwater. They were changed into a form that can live very happily in the ocean. So why would you make it, you know, dry land effectively? But that's what's happened. I suppose they've taken the gameplay road, which I find difficult to criticise. It's one of those things where I'm thinking, okay, you've sort of changed the lore, I suppose, in a minor way, but we're getting gameplay benefit from it. And I had another thought as well. So 8.2, just like in Legion, when it was 7.2, of course, is the patch that's going to introduce Pathfinder Part 2. So they're going to let us fly again. Now, in Legion, they said, okay, you can now fly. Well done. Oh, by the way, we're going to these new zones now. Oh, you can't fly there. I thought the same thing was going to happen, especially when they first announced Nazjatar. I thought, oh, good, yeah. So you're going to give us flight and then send us to a zone where we can't fly. But I don't know whether that'll be true or not. Maybe it'll be true. It could still be true that it'll be like Argus and we can't actually fly there. But it may be possible for us to. So I don't know on that one yet. However, a few things that they did explain. So Azshara was rebuilding her kingdom for about 10,000 years before they started to come to the surface. So initially, they started coming to the surface roundabout, I suppose, the Frozen Throne. Certainly, you know, they made their first major assault when they were summoned by Illidan to attack the Frozen Throne. And since then in the game, we've had them attacking various other places for various different reasons. Lady Vash, of course, her trusted lieutenant, or it used to be a handmaiden, we encountered in Outland because she disappeared off there when Illidan ran away. Oh no, he didn't run away now, of course. Yes, I forgot. They retconned that as well in Legion. When he strategically withdrew for reasons. So we've encountered the Naga in lots of different places, but now we're getting the sense of a major assault. So it looks like we're going to take them out in their own backyard. And over the 10,000 years that they were forging their empire, of course, they made enemies. The Makrura, for example, the lobster people. So we're going to be befriending some of these races that the Naga have been upsetting for the last 10,000 years in those quests there. The other thing, of course, is that in 8.2.5, the raid will appear, which is effectively Ashara's palace. And it will include, of course, Ashara as a boss in there. It's an 8-boss raid. Now, and this is what sealed it for me. So we'd seen that the zone clearly wasn't underwater, but we saw just a little bit of footage of that. But then what really nailed it is when the Jeremy Faisal, who was actually who was actually announcing it, basically said that in the Ashara raid there will be an underwater boss. Now, he didn't specifically say that it would be Ashara, and I got the impression from what he was saying that it wouldn't be, but that would to me seem a little bit strange because Ashara really looks like she's built for it in terms of the BfA graphics of her. But anyway, whatever. So there is going to be an underwater boss, which, if the whole zone was underwater, you might have thought, well, that's, you know, to be expected. But, you know, I don't think the zone is underwater. So we're going to get one underwater boss, which I'm sure will be a pain in the ass. Shades of, you know, doing Kelfas in TBC, you know, in the last couple of phases. That sort of nonsense going on. And I have to say, I was personally quite surprised that Nazjatar wouldn't be underwater as well, because not only was like another seahorse mount data mined, in Legion, you know, we got the blacksmith's got a pattern for an anchor. You build this anchor if you've not seen it before, and use it in any area of water, and it plummets you down to the bottom really quickly. You know, leather workers can build a diving suit, all the rest of it. It really did look like, oh, you know, there's going to be some underwater action here. But it looks like not, other than that one boss, as I say. And I suppose the last few things to say about it really is, first of all, in terms of the zone, they seem very excited that it will contain a lot of new outdoor world content. He described the PvP type objectives around Arkandun in TBC, so there's a little bit of that going on. He also described it as he wants every day for there to be something different there. So it sounds like they're going to be ramping up the procedurally generated content, so it'll be interesting to see that as well. It might well be that, although BfA had a shaky start, that they are actually building up to some really interesting new features. It's just taking a while to get them through. Notice some of the rewards here. The crab in the middle, he particularly pointed this one out. It is going to be really weird. So it's a crab mount, and what he said is, oh, do you notice where you're going to be sitting there? It's a crab mount that's going to move sideways. Could you? I'm trying to work this out. I'm trying to get this right in my head. Trying to picture this. So, I mean, yeah, okay, crabs move sideways, but they tend to do the scuttling thing, don't they? I don't think this is going to really scuttle. But anyway, so we're going to get a crab mount that moves sideways. There is the seahorse mount, but if it's not underwater, I'm not quite sure what that's about. So again, it makes me wonder, is there a part of it that's underwater? Is there a part of Nazjatar which, you know, is a dry land area? Is there part of it which is underwater? I don't know. They didn't really talk about it. I'm only trying to infer things from it. And just one final thing, which was a little bit worrying to me, actually, just to finish off with. He also said that in the Ashara Palace raid, he said there's something called the Naga hatchery. For those of you who wonder how Naga procreate. So we're presumably going to see some Naga porn. Is that what he's saying? I don't want to see that. Anyway, let me know what you think of it as well in the comments below. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe for further content, and share with others who might also be interested. Until next time, I'll see you later.